Guys, I'm gonna share two stories, and one of the story, which is my own story out of these two, is how start with a lost dogs poster to become a global leader, and that might help you. I think you are somewhere, if you are into design or whichever, doesn't matter if you are designer or not designer, but you are somewhere in this zone. So I think it's good to hear which stage you are in, and there are better stages ahead, and I will share all the stages with you. So who am I? I'm a global head of experience design in MSD Pharma. If you do not know what is MSD Pharma, we are known as a Merck Pharmaceutical in the United States, and outside we are known as a Merck Sharp and Dome, which is MSD. We have a 78,000 employees, plus minus, 68 to 78,000 plus minus always employees in 142 countries. This company is almost 130 plus year old by now. I think 135 year. So it's a very well established, but we are not into the shelf. That means you don't find our product, you go to Watson's or Guardian and say, I want ABC, and you won't find $2, $5 stuff very commonly from our company. We are very highly prescribed drugs. So touch wood, if you have some of your family member come across some kind of disease where they have to go to stage 3 and stage 4, doctor will prescribe some drugs which come from company like my companies, right? So that's why you won't hear from us regularly. I'm going to share today two stories. One is my own, and another one is there is a trainer in a Nelson Norman group, and this is her story. And it's both are good to learn and excite and practice this some of the theories. So I choose both of this story where you can relate to. Maybe you are in one of the stage. Let me go ahead and share about Nancy Dickenson, who she is. So Nancy, she did some designing course in US, and then she was looking for some. She was some of the designer in some of the small startup, and she got that time Apple was startup as well, and she got a job in Apple at early stage when they were designing this QuickTime and those kind of. And this is not the real QuickTime, but I found this is the only photographs, oldest photographs. So she was a designer to design like some kind of like numbers here on the time frame. You can see some key frames moving and these buttons. So there was a designer and she was assistant designer or junior designer. So they both were working on the QuickTime, and nobody had idea at that time what video can be played on computer. And this was the first player they were designing. So that's how she started some of her early stage journey. And then, so let me share what happened next. Then this QuickTime player was launched. Then she found the job is monotonous. She left and she joined eBay. And she joined eBay not as a junior designer, but she joined as a designer. When she joined eBay was doing fine. They were doing a good amount of earning, and they hired her because they needed some kind of posters and some of the basic work. So she was doing like the events in the company, excite people and say, you can, with help of design, you can change something. These are the important tools. These are the important skills. Nobody was listening to her. Her job was to like design some poster and put it in eBay, and that's all. So what she did was, she was free. 80% of the time she was free. People are not listening to her. So what she did, she started looking or become a tester in her own site, which is an eBay site. She go to the eBay, look everything in a detail, write stuff down, and she found out one interesting thing, which is there is a registration page and it is extremely cluttered. So she asked people and said, who is the one who is working on this registration page? And she found out the programmer, the developer. So she sat down with the developer for a few days, and they found out that the people who come to this page and then they start registering and they drop off are like 24 to 25%. So 25% of the people never register, even they come to this page and they drop off. They never register here. And she started asking this question to herself, what can be done to change this scenario? So what she did was she started drafting some of the better version of the form. And the better version was this. As you can see on your on the rightmost hand, this was a very simple, and this is not, these are not the exact form, by the way, because she didn't share this in her story. I was with her in one of the workshop and conference, and that's how we come to know about this. So she didn't share any pictures. So I put up these pictures from internet somewhere, but she came up with a simplified version. Until then, it was a very cluttered version. And in our previous speaker, you have seen all this UI related stuff. So I'm not going to talk much about how to improve the UI, but because they have done a good job in their sharing. So when Nancy come up with this, she started banging every single person and say, can we have this? Can we have this new form? And let's try that if people are registering. And everybody rejected. When somebody reject, she go to hierarchy. Somebody reject, go to hierarchy. And she reached to CFO. That time, eBay was fully controlled by chief financial officer. So she got an appointment for 3 minutes to CFO. And she explained this. CFO says, are you sure that this 25% people who are dropping off is because of the form design? And Nancy says, I'm very sure. So CFO asks another question is, what if I can give you some percentage to experiment, what will you do? She said, I need 3 to 4 weeks to show you something. Okay, here you go. So CFO called the program lead, project lead, and say, give her a smallest space to launch this. So they went to the global, that time eBay was global. They went to the global, they look at the most upcoming space, and they found out in United Kingdom, there is a very small place in United Kingdom, and this is the area if we should focus, and let's change this form when there is an IP address is this. So they launched new form and they were shocked. That time, the average form was 400 a week, average 300 to 400 people submit forms a week. The moment they change this form in that United Kingdom, it become more than 1,600. It jumped like 3 to 4, 5, 6 times. And it was shocking. Within 1 month, they take this data, go back to CFO and put the data, and CFO jump. And CFO say, let's scale this up to whole United Kingdom and let's see what happened in next 2 months. They changed the form. New form was scaled up in the United Kingdom, and then so on and so forth. And this thing grew. And today we don't see cluttered form at all. We see more and more easier and much. The previous guys, they already said all those things, so you know better. The point is, she started looking at something which is called numbers. Where can I, as a designer, change perspective which can influence people who take decision based on numbers? And I'm coming back in the detail later. So that was one example, and she got a lot of credit and say, yeah, because of you. And what I heard is there was extra $7 million was created that particular year by having extra 25 to 30% new user who used to drop off from eBay when they come to registration page, and they found it complicated, right? And that was a boost. So she started looking into the website again, and she found out that this page where maximum people go and do shopping or trading or polling, that page is cluttered. And that time, this icon was extremely small. There was a very small thumbnail, and there was a big text, and there was a big number like $5,500 and so on and so forth. So she started redesigning this page and proposed a new page. And this is the page, as you can see. There was a big picture and there are good text. So let me escape and show you. Okay. So there was a picture. The thumbnail size was suggested as a new, and of course these are the latest screenshot I took. But the idea of a big screen thumbnail was her idea. So she again go back to CFO. CFO says, let's try it in a smaller percentage of community somewhere. Let's check the data and so on and so forth. And it become history. And this, so what they did is this time they add 10 cents. If you want a smaller icon, it's free. If you want a bigger picture like this of your product, we will charge you extra 10 cents, and that's all. People started giving 10 cents, and it was, again, it went in the million. I don't have exact numbers, right? So, but you get the point. As a designer or wherever you are, doesn't matter, you're a developer, programmer, whoever you are, it's not important. The important is, do you see the way CEO, the CFO people sees your product, the company, right? The solution. And that's why I put it as a dollar designer. So she, from junior designer to become a dollar designer. I will talk in a moment. Now let me put everything in a timeline, and when we understand that how it happened. So she was a junior designer designing some buttons and some small icons and so on and so forth. From there, in her next job, she started asking people that what can I do as a designer, and nobody gave her any job for a few weeks to few months. What she did is she changed asking question to herself, that instead of what can I do, let's think of something better. So she herself find out some of the page I can improve, and then those pages lead her to bigger and bigger. So she was the only designer. I mean, they had a few designers, but she was the only designer who never appreciated. But in just 3.5 years later, she was a global design director in eBay, and there are 300 designers who was reporting to her, more than 300 designers reporting globally. Why? Because CFO said design is equal to dollar. And that's exactly what happened. So we as a designer, when we are junior, we think pixels need to be perfect. When we become seniors, every pixel is equal to dollar. And this is exactly how we need to think. So if you are keep on thinking about pixel, you are designer. Or if you are keep on thinking about much lesser than the pixel, you are junior designer. So different stage, your thinking methodology will be different, right? So this is Nancy Dickinson's story, very inspiring. I love this, and I shared this story with few other designers in different forum to get inspired that in 3.5 years, you can have 300 people reporting to you in just 3.5 years, right? And it is possible. I mean, you can be a shy designer today, but you can be in the future, you can be a leader if you think the way Nancy thought. And I have the similar story to share from my side. So let me go ahead and quickly share. So I was a designer somewhere a few years. You don't need to know where. I was from India, then in Malaysia, I worked for a few years, 3.5 years, and then in Singapore, 11 years. So that's the story. And again, I become senior designer somewhere, which you don't need to know all those things. My LinkedIn is there if you wanted to know. We don't need to waste time. When I joined this pharmaceutical company, I was joined as a senior designer, and they had only one designer, that is me, right? And they had some other designer, then they hired in Europe, and in US, there are some designers came in, and so on and so forth. So the team started becoming big. That time, people come and ask me, I will share in next few slides, come and ask me, hey, Bob, so I go and tell them that I can design your whole website. We have a lot of website which is client facing, which is like doctors are reading our content, patients are reading our content, our internal people are reading our content. So these are the ugly designs. Can we help? And they say, yeah, we all know, but can you just help me to change the logo? Or can you help me to design a poster for the dog? And those kind of things, right? In a different company, different stage, I receive this kind of request. So I started from that. Even though being a senior designer, don't ask the question that why are you giving me such a small stupidity? People in my first year of career in this organization, or every organization I go, they ask me and say, can you design nice PowerPoint? This is a very common story, by the way. And they want you to come out with a nice, sexy looking, glamorous PowerPoint slide, right? So this is the same thing I started. And within just another 2 years, I started having a vision of dollar value. And I started putting my own thoughts that how can a user can come and get maximum information what a user wants. Of course, I do not have my examples to share here because it is pharmaceutical and we need to go through a lot of legals and stuff like that. So we can't share anything as advertised. But the story behind that was I started seeing that how can I give more value to every single person? Either it can be a doctor, it can be a patient. If they come in, they should, within a minimum time, maximum things should be covered. But at the same time, my company need to have some profit. When I started thinking that, company started thinking me to get promoted. And they started giving me more and more people. So I had 1 to become 2 and 3 and so on and so forth. So that's how we, and then in 2019, within 3 years down the road, I started another things, which I encourage all of you. As you can see below is a mentoring. Start mentoring when you're a senior designer or somewhere in a senior position, entering to that. Not only that, but mentor outside of your company, outside of your space. I have mentored globally, Russians or even Japanese. I have mentored many of the people. People are flying in the flight as an air stewardess, and they have a message they are sending me, and I have those kind of chats as well. So I love mentoring, and I did that, and that helps you to learn a lot that how global perspective thinks about this space of design, and that helps me a lot. So looking inside that how can we grow with a dollar value, and looking outside. Then when you things started thinking towards the global. How can I help my existence, my knowledge? How can I help as much as possible? You are growing such a big. Now my team globally is 52 people, including Europe and US, right? And I am global lead, leading a lot of work day and night. We are doing, of course, dollar value increasing my vision. At the same time, I'm doing more mentoring and internally and externally both. So the point here is, if you are looking towards, it doesn't matter, you're a developer, programmer, you're sales, whoever you are, end of the day, dollar value, and let me explain this in a detail in the next slide. Dollar value is a lot more important, and a value which is satisfying to your customer is a lot more important. And the previous speaker had said a good amount of information on that, the funnel for the business. So let me share how my posters, the journey look like in a quick format. So when you join any organization, this is what they do. They say, hey designer, can you help me to design my poster for the dog, and I want my puppy to look cute, and you get the point. It can be, doesn't matter, it's a poster for the dog, or it's their own personal project or corporate project, but those projects, nobody will involve you in a 5 million or 50 million worth of project on a first day. And don't get disappointed with that. What you need to do is, you need to put a lot of efforts in a extremely small things, because you need to build a relation and trust. I'm coming to that point about the trust. So what does it mean? You start small, and this is how you start. So people come to you and they say, oh, I have one small logo, one small page to design. Can you write an English letter for me? Can you decorate my PowerPoint website? Hey. So this kind of small stuff, reach out to you. Don't say no. Doesn't matter how senior you are, how many years of experience you are. When you are in a new organization, you are zero for them. And that's why you have to start from zero. Let's accept the truth. Once you do that, what you're going to achieve is you're going to build a trust. And trust cannot be built by bigger project, because bigger project, if you wanted to build a Taj Mahal or Burj Khalifa, it will take 10, 20, 100 years. Taj Mahal completed total in 32 years total, end to end. So you can't build trust, right, when you wanted to focusing on Taj Mahal. But if you focus someone's PowerPoint, that guy will go back to his boss and say, hey, his PowerPoint skill is good, and his turnaround time is good, and he's very good smiley guy. So be smiley. Always you need to keep on smile and give all the stuff. His boss will come to you once he's in trouble and say, I need another PowerPoint 2 slide. Can you do this? But I have only 1 hour left. Try to give your best, and they will appreciate you. Once you build a trust, and this is what happened, more and more people will know you as that guy or that girl, and say, you reach out to that guy, I tell you, he will change your perspective, and da, 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 da. So become that guy. Being that guy this is the journey. Start with extremely small, extremely poor, which is not so important for many people, but it is important for you, because 3 years later, there are 300 people waiting for you to report. So don't look at your logo design or small puppy lost my poster and this and that. Look at 3, 4, 5 years long journey. And this is how I did. I was not irritated by any work come to me, but I was happy that I have every single day, I have one new person to meet, somebody trusting me, and so on and so forth. Once I reached to that, become that guy, the next journey I started looking at is, how can I tell company that I'm saving your money, or something about money, or some values, right, inside the company. So you have to think this, how can you save money? Saving is the first priority of any organization. Don't focus on making money. Try to think of saving money, unless you are in a sales, okay? So try to think of saving money, and saving money will give you a thought process of making money. That's my observation. But if you focus only on making money, then you have a lot of struggle to make. So try to think that, how can I save money in my organization? It will give you a lot more broader idea to how can we save and make more money. So the second perspective, in larger organization, people have a biggest worry is, how can I go faster? Can I cut down my time to half? If you listen to them carefully and you start working towards that, some of the tools, simplification, like Nancy Dickenson, she did, that was a complex form. She redesigned it in an extremely simple form, and it saved people's time, internal and external both. And that's exactly what we need to think. In a larger organization, people are worried so much about saving time. We need to think of them. Then only you go into, how can I help you to make money? And I don't need to explain this, right? How can you need to make money? You can find out in your own company. Most of the time, this is my advice. CEO, every 3 months, you have a town hall. Listen to that town hall. If you, most likely you have a share price and all, listen to the board of directors view and listen to the Bloombergs and those kind of websites, what they are talking about your companies. It will tell that where your company's direction is going. And then you start relating the dot that, for example, let's say if I listen that suddenly my pharmaceutical company have a challenge to engage more customer or patients in drug for asthma, or let's say drug for cancer. Okay, what I will do is I will go back. Why? Because there is a competition increasing and other competitors have a better product or a cheaper product or whatever. Because of the competition, my product can't do much. My job is what is internally we have. We have websites, digital tool, and doctors are relying on that. How can I make that tool better? Which is the most important tool for the global to reach out to us in name of cancer. So I start looking at those kind of area, and that's how we decide that, okay, we can make a little bit more better achievement to satisfy our customer, and eventually it will go to the dollar value. But thinking towards the direction from the CEO perspective, Bloomberg and those kind of third-party websites or the news channel perspective. And then that's not it. Normally we think that that's all, but that's not it. I also realize building your own internal community is also a lot more things. You can train more and more people, and they will learn through you. They will see through your eyes, and they say, no, oh, okay, we all, if we think from a better design perspective, I think that will help us. So build a community and do the regular community practice. If you have internal website, you can share. You have WhatsApp groups, share every week that this is the better use of design. And there are a lot of articles and stuff. Summarize for them. This is another thing. You summarize for them and send it to them. So they will thanking you. Because when you send in a WhatsApp group or your company chat, nobody reads it. Hardly 5% people reads it. But if you summarize and say, in this article, you found these are the 3 most important points, they will love it. They might read it, might not read it, but they will love that you are sharing, and they will start following you. You will create your own followers this way. Now, I have a very interesting method which I come across by number of discoveries. So I wanted to share, this is a success formula. Let me quickly go ahead and share this picture. This is common in some of the countries, right? This picture is taken from India. The problem in this picture is it's illegal. You cannot sit 4 people in 2-wheeler, right? But it is in many of the cities, this is possible. People does this. So why this happen? Why do people take risk? Let's go through that, and I will tell you how it relates to what I'm going to say in next 2-3 slides. So things normally globally start with philosophy. Doesn't matter you are thinking on your own, your startup, you are a big company, always philosophy comes first. What does it mean? In this picture, they started thinking and say, we all 4 people are staying in the same area, and we all are 4 traveling in the same factory area. Why don't we travel together? We save money, it is economic, it is eco-friendly, we all can chit chat, so on and so forth. So there is some philosophical things are working. And then once they get convinced, they need to convince someone psychologically. For example, there is a lady, a woman sitting in the bike. Now, India is not that open country where women can sit down with these 3 men on the bullets or bikes, and they can travel easily. So they need to convince this woman, right, that it's okay, we are 4, you can sit down with us, we can bring you, you are safe, so on and so forth, right? So some psychological discussion came in. There is another psychological discussion came in the picture is, we are 4 people, but it's okay. If police try to catch us, we will trying to find a shortcut. We will use another way. It's okay. We can travel together. So there are many philosophical convincing happen. That is like this boy, the first person, is sitting on a petrol tank or a gas tank. He needs to go through psychological convincing that it's okay. It's not that dangerous to sit down on a petrol tank. So he is getting convinced by psychology as well. So there is a lot of amount of psychology. So first you need to talk about philosophy. We all wanted to do, all common goal is saving money and moving faster, so on and so forth. And then go to psychology, how we will do it. You will sit here and so on and so forth. And then you could talk about ethics. While this one is illegal, and I will come back to the ethics point. If your product is illegal, it won't work. So it needs to be legal completely. Of course, in this picture, it is illegal, and I will visit to this again. And then talk about technology. Now, these 4 people are staying in a 4 different house. They are chatting with each other, and the person who is riding the bike, he say, hey, I'm leaving my house. Can you come out of your house? And they all 3 other people came out of their house, and he fetched 1 by 2 by 3 and so on and so forth. So they are using a WhatsApp. They are using a mobile as a chatting platform so they can communicate, and they are using a vehicle as another technology, right? So there are two technology working, automation technology and IT technology. These two technologies are working to communicate and move from destination A to B. Now, there is a method to sit down. Since this is a woman, she will sit down last. It's not advisable to sit in a sandwich version where she sits in between and there are two men. So that's one way. The another guy, this is a short person, so he sit down front. So this guy, the person who is riding the bike, can see through clearly, right? So this is the positioning. That's a method they use. How we gonna use it? That's a next method they use. What are the shortcut we need to use? We don't need to go through all the main roads because traffic police might catch us. So let's use some of the shortcuts. So there are a number of methods they are using on top of the technology. Of course, they have technology to communicate and travel, but they have certain methods. And the last and the most important thing is economic value. Why? What is the benefit of doing this? Of course, they are saving time and they're saving money. And maybe these four people are sharing petrol cost. So this person who is riding this bike, he has lesser value to pay in a petrol cost. So you get the point. And these are the key elements. These are the 6 pillars I discover my own self. I call it Eagle framework. And there is a lot more discussion on Eagle framework, which I haven't put it here because we don't have time. But if you guys are interested, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and I will share those stuff. But these are the pillars which helps to move faster. And this is exactly what I have done in my organization as well. I start with philosophical thinking, but I always keep my eyes on all those things. Now, what is the value of this picture? Let me tell you the value of this picture now. This is illegal. That's why the value of the picture is 0. But if I make these things legal, the value of this picture is $5 billion. You know Gojek. We all know Gojek, right? Gojek sign or tick all these things. Gojek have given a helmet to the passenger, to the rider. So passenger also, and compulsory passenger needs to wear a helmet. And so you get the point. I mean, everything is legal. Everything is ethical. They started with same philosophy that can two different people, unknown people, travel in a same destination on a same vehicle through our platform and we can make money. Is it possible? And they started asking themselves a question and say, yes, it is possible. How are we going to make possible? Then second question comes in psychology is, in country like Indonesia, unknown woman sitting behind unknown man, how are we going to make this possible? By making more transparent way. There is an application, mobile application, and making it more common. And this unknown guy, if he's wearing a Gojek jacket, people will say, oh, okay, he's a driver and this is a passenger. They don't see a man and woman sitting down. They see driver, passenger, rider and passenger. This is definitely ethical because the law says if driver or rider don't give you helmet, don't sit down with him. Simple. So rider have helmet. So both are having a technology, the mobile application and the motorbike. The methodologies, of course, they have to follow certain steps. You have to register as a rider. You have to go through certain testing and as a passenger and so on and so forth. And there is economic value. Company is making money, rider is making money, and passenger is saving money. So everybody wanted to use the platform. Successful platform can be, you take Apple phone or you take Tesla, anything you take, these are the 6 pillars. And there are a lot more things which I'm not sharing here, but these are the 6 pillars in this sequence will go through. That's why it is successful. And even you are personally taking it, you have to think this way, that how can I bring this similar value in my company? How can I think from philosophy to economics, right? So these are the 3 tips I have. First tips, small is right. Don't say no small, I don't want to touch, I'm 10 years experience and so on and so forth. You change the company, you lose everything. You start from 0. So if you are doing small work in your organization, you are doing right work. In a bigger organization, especially, even if it is a startup, small is right. This is a second. Trust first. You can be technically strong, you can be great talent and so much passionate. If you fail to build a trust, people say that's the guy you should go to. And if people say, no, that's the guy you shouldn't go to. If you fail to build a trust, you go to office just to charge your phone, use a washroom. Sometimes you drink a free coffee in the machine and check the email sometime. But you are not creating value to your personal career as well as for the company. Build trust first. So that's another point. And this is the third and last point. Numbers are valuable, extremely valuable. So if your efforts is very philosophical, but not economical, then you are just there hanging around as a soul People like your thoughts. They like to sit down with you when they have time, but they don't give you a project and your career is in doom, right? So these are my 3 valuable points. I won't take any more time, guys. LinkedIn is the only tool I use to communicate outside of my company. So you can search for Pranav Joshi. You can see this photograph. And the biggest thank you I think I wanted to tell in behalf of you and behalf of me is to Exabyte, because honestly, in this pandemic, we all are learning from each other. And what we need is this kind of platform where they put a lot of effort. Like the host, Sami, she has done a tremendous job, and all those people behind the team, I meet them personally a few times in past when we were doing the event together, and I appreciate that effort that you guys have done it digitally as well. So keeping that on the momentum, thank you very much on behalf of the whole community. Thank you very much. And guys, you have more questions, you have more thoughts, you have similar stories, please share with me on a LinkedIn. I do live on LinkedIn always. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Thank you, Pranav, for all the kind compliments and for your outstanding presentation. I really, really enjoyed it, especially like when you use Gojek as an example. I didn't expect you to put that into perspective because most of the time these things, like I said, they fly under the radar, right under our noses, and then when you actually, make a point to tell us, you're like, oh wow, this actually makes a lot of sense. So thank you for that.
Thanks a lot.
Exabytes. Grow your business online.